Welcome to the GP Committee. We've got no members of the public tonight. Thank you to councillors and officers for joining today. Council and officers are reminded of their commitment to the civility and respect pledge and to be mindful of this during tonight's meeting. Please be aware that the council is video recording this meeting and this will be uploaded to our YouTube channel. I would just like to highlight the key points of the meeting format. Can I ask everyone to turn their phones off or set them to silent, please? Fire exits via the doors, out of the chambers and down the external fire escape stairs or the main entrance that you enter the building through. In the event of a fire, do not use the lift. The assembly point is outside the Royal Mail Parcel Office. Please remain seated unless you're invited to speak or need to take a comfort break. To all present, please remember to show respect to others in the meeting and avoid interrupting where possible to enable others to follow the meeting. When a councillor feels concerned about an aspect of the meeting or discussion, please state point of order. I will then gesture for you to elaborate. If anyone present is felt to behave unacceptably, they can be ejected from the meeting by resolution. Thank you for listening. On behalf of the council, I would like to thank everyone for attending this council meeting. Okay. Let's move on to agenda item 1, apologies for absence.
Sorry. Thank you, Chair. We've got apologies from Councillor Walraven for being unwell, substituted by Councillor Dunn. We've got apologies from Councillor Sharp, for personal commitments, and the substitute is Councillor Wearmouth. And we've got apologies from Councillor Meek for work commitments.
Thank you. And just to note that Councillor Mark Welby will be the Vice Chair this evening. Are there any disclosures of interest, please? None. Thank you. We've got no public participation. So the first report we're looking at is item 4. We are advised to consider the report and to move to vote on the motion to note the content of the report. Does anybody have any comments? Councillor Wearmouth.
Thank you. It's page 20. My head of the game. Sorry.
We're on pages 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Sorry, it's item 5.
Okay. No comments at all on this one? Okay, we'll move to note the contents of the report. Can I have a proposal, please? Councillor Burrow, seconded Councillor Bowman. All those in favour? Thank you. Item number 5 is the income and expenditure report today to October 25. We're asked to consider the report and to note the contents. Would anybody like Lucy to comment on anything, please? And this is the report up to pages 29. Councillor Wearmouth.
Okay. It is about civic expenses on page 20. First of all, I'd like to note, and thank you to Lucy for confirming the facts, that the Mayor's allowance of £1,500 has stayed exactly £1,500 for at least 10 years, we think. So essentially, the Mayor's allowance is going down every year by default. And since there's no real job description and one cannot really decide whether you're getting value for money from the Mayor's activity, that this is being allowed to drift. The Bank of England inflation calculator suggests that £1,500 10 years ago is now worth £2,090. So I'm really just leaving it with the fact that there is a diminishing amount of money in the civic allowance to allow the mayor to do what the mayor does. And it's not for me to really comment other than say that if this was corrected for inflation, it would be £2,090 now, and maybe it should be corrected, and maybe there should be an inflation allowance on an annual basis. And also looking at the town crier expenses, 4188, we may have to look at this in due course as we are looking at looking for someone to look at the succession for the town crier, so there may be extra civic expenses relating to that, maybe uniforms, training, etc., etc. So there are two potential extra sources of expense
For next year.
Yeah.
Through the chair, so we do have an earmark reserve for civic earmark reserve, so that's where the expenditure for the deputy town crier would come from.
Right. Thank you.
And could that be used to increase the mayor's allowance too?
Could use funds from that earmark reserve, yes.
Councillor Markov first and then Councillor Barnum.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to support our Mayor, Councillor Wirmer's identification of the stagnation of the Mayor's civic expenses. We did raise it last year when we changed the, when we were discussing the changes in the Mayor's portfolio, but at that time we didn't get any traction on that. But I did do quite a lot of investigating across other mayors in either smaller or larger towns. We happen to be the largest town of other mayors, and other mayors have twice the expenses that we have. So I did realise, because I was struggling a bit last year, so I do think that there needs to be something that does keep up with at least inflation here, and it is an important issue.
Okay. Well, we can pick that up in the future forecasting one. Councillor Barnum.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'd just like to know of, over the last few years, has the Mayor's budget actually gone over budget? Because this is for their travel expenses, tickets to events. If it's gone over budget, then yes, let's increase the budget. But if we've actually been under budget every year for the last few years, and they haven't been, why are we looking at increasing?
Can I come back on that, Chair?
Well, you
Yes,
know, you do it.
Councillor Winner.
Thank you. It's very simple. When you're told you're running out of money, you stop doing things. You start failing the town. You stop doing the job. So it's very easy to keep within budget. It's just not easy to function as a mayor at the same time.
Councillor Markov.
You took what?
Councillor Markov.
Totally agree. Last year we weren't way under budget. I think we managed to save £100. There wasn't much left in the budget. We found that the costs of, using events, using accommodation, etc., had all gone up, and it was actually quite a struggle to keep within that budget.
Councillor Barnum, would you like to come back on that?
No, it was just a rhetorical question.
Lucy, have you got an insight into that? Has it ever gone over?
No, I don't think it has gone over. No, like Councillor Markov was saying, it was £100 under budget last year.
Okay. But that's because they chose not to go or not to do things.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's true. Any other comments? So we are recommended to note the contents of the report. Can I have a proposer, please? Councillor Dillon, seconder. Councillor Matthews, all those in favour? Thank you. Item 6. To advise the committee on bank reconciliation and payments for August, September and October. We're asked to consider the update and vote to note the contents of the report. Does anybody need Lucy to update us on anything in the report? Would anybody like to ask any questions? Can I move to note the contents of the report, please? Proposer, please. Councillor Markwell, seconder. Councillor Bowman, all those in favour? Thank you. Item number 7, to provide an update on the review of the website provision. We're asked to consider the review of the report and move to note the contents of the report. And we've got an explanation of website improvements. Dara, is there anything you want to add to what you've already put in the report?
No, I think everything's detailed in there. The only update for today is actually the cost of the website update for the golf course that we thought was £1,400 actually includes the town council website. So both websites will be updated for £1,400.
That's good.
So yeah, most of it will be expected.
Councillor Hughes.
So the type of website is WCAG 2.2AA.
Yeah.
What is that in layman's terms?
It's
Minutes, please. And
It's basically accessibility guidelines. So they are the guidelines for all local authority, council websites, etc. They need to be compliant, and they're starting a roll-out process of checking up on the accessibility.
security level.
No, it's accessibility. So it's anyone with visual impairments, ability to read it, etc.
So size of text.
It's multiple things. It's size of text, how it's presented. So if it's got the option to be expanded, etc. There's loads of different sort of elements to it. Quite a new one for me to come because I've never come across it before. But through the people we've been working with, what they're saying is actually the key part of it is there's now inspections taking place currently. They're going through local authority council websites to ensure they're compliant. We give them 12 weeks in which to act if you're not compliant. So that process has started. And then most importantly, for your AGAR, there's the assertion 10 that you have to demonstrate that you are compliant with it as well. So if we're not compliant, then we don't essentially meet the AGAR standards. Requirements.
Thank you. Councillor Bowman.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. While I understand Madison wasn't able to help us move forward with this, they are a local company, and it would be good if Seaford Town Council can support local companies. Did we look at any other very local web-based hosting companies?
No, what we looked at was companies that had provided town council websites, so we could benchmark them. And Aubergine, who we decided to go with, they actually cover, I think it's 1,600 local authority partners they've got, or town councils, so you can actually read their website. They are partners. The quality of the websites is good, and worth pointing out that Madison's quote was £4,000.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But there are other very local companies that might have actually been able to fix what we needed and keep the money locally, because then it's just a recycling of money into the town, back into the town. And just if we can, when we're doing things like this, can we look at other local companies as well?
Yeah.
Across the whole board of.
Yeah, that's fine. It's just purely around the requirements, and I think more importantly, having worked with Madison's and the work they've done with us, I don't think they got the accessibility. And every other company I spoke to didn't, whereas Aubergine fully understood the requirements, which makes them a sort of an excellent partner.
Thank you.
Is that quite, sorry, do you mind if I come back on that?
No. You're the chair.
Is it a criteria in the standing orders or financial guide that when we get quotes we include a local company?
No.
Is that something we should look at when we review it next time? Maybe?
It can be reviewed.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Dunn.
Yeah, just to say I was really pleased with this agenda item. I've always felt the council's website was not very user friendly. I found it very, I use a lot of websites and I found it very difficult sometimes to navigate. You'd click the arrow and it would go off somewhere else and you've got to start all over again. So for me, websites are all about, as well as looking good, about being user friendly and easily accessible. So if that also can be taken into consideration, because we have a lot of elderly residents that do use the internet, are very au fait, but it would be nicer if it was more accessible.
Yeah, I think the challenge from the very beginning is to make sure it's an upgrade on what we've got currently. I think what started this as well was the golf course one,
Yeah.
which
There's
is
worse.
not very good at all. It's not like we have
I mean, this is, sorry, Chair, this is an improvement on what we did have when I first became a councillor. We've moved on, but it does need an upgrade.
Councillor Buchanan.
Thank you, Chair. I think I know the answer, but who is it that actually confirms the compliance? Is it the guys that do the software upgrade?
There's a number of compliance checkers you can use that show there's immediate accessibility guidance.
Are they external to the guys that are doing the software upgrade? Or are they...
Yeah. So all the checks I ran, there's a number of websites that you can provide the accessibility checks. There's also the government guidance on it, so you can actually go through and check it and use it. There's a tick box exercise where you can check all the criteria off against it.
That's you?
Yes, me.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't do that, but the accessibility checks, there's numerous online that you can run your websites through, and they give you the basic overview of where it fails in compliance.
Okay. I didn't know that answer, but thank you.
No problem.
Thank you. Any other questions? Can we move to note the contents of the report? Can I have the proposal, please? Councillor Dunn, seconder, Councillor Weymouth. All those in favour? Thank you. Item 8. This is the Finance and General Purposes draft budget 26-27. And we are to consider the draft and move to comment and recommend its proposals to full council. Do we have, does anybody want some further information on this before we start with Councillor Buchanan?
Thank you, Chair. It's a number that keeps popping up, but for example on item 4.3 on page 43, the committee budgets have now been drafted and the tax-based figure has been confirmed by Lewis District Councillors 9822.1. Is that pounds? Is there a value to that?
So through the chair, that means the amount of money we need to raise divided by that figure equals the Band D council tax precept.
Okay, beg your pardon.
And it relates to the number of households that are going to pay council tax at Band D in the district. And it's gone up slightly since last year. Does that make sense?
I believe so. I think I was on that course.
Is there anything you want to add, Darren, to the
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
It makes sense when they
No,
explain it.
I don't think so. I think it's probably more about how that falls into the overall budget that's the next agenda item. I think it's probably the more important part.
Councillor Gorman?
Yeah, thank you. So 3.1 is interest. Obviously, we've always under budgeted the interest, and when interest rates went up, we suddenly were we gained more from what we budgeted. Obviously, interest rates have just gone down today. There's a possibility they might keep going down. Will that have a knock-on effect in the next budget if it goes down a few more times next year?
You mean for the next financial year?
Yes.
Yeah, I think we've probably, Lucy will back me up on this, and we've probably played it down slightly just to give a degree of flexibility in there. So hopefully if there's any changes, that shouldn't alter.
What interest rate have you calculated it on?
That's a good question. I think it was what was in there. I think from memory, we've been going through this a lot. I think didn't we take out what we were going to use for in reserves?
I think we did, didn't we?
Yeah. So the decrease or the difference between the two is what we were forecasting using from general reserves. So that money's in there, so that's because we've got that allocated. for the projects or other items to use, we've reduced it down and we've factored in on that basis, because there's still money that needs to be spent on all sorts of things, so they will come out of that.
Sorry, that's the amount of money, not the interest percentage that you're thinking for.
Yeah. No, there isn't a specific percentage. It was just done.
It's a guesstimation.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions? So I've got a question. You're asking us to recommend proposals in this report. However, I can't see any proposals.
It's the budget. It's the budget pages.
Okay, so in the budget setting annual process, each of the committees proposes their budget to full council on the 29th of January. That's what it is.
Okay.
So you're proposing, this committee is being asked to propose this as a budget for F&GP to full council on the 29th of January. Does that make sense?
It does. It'd be more helpful if it said that. So I've got a couple of questions, because I'd like to propose an amendment to that, if you don't mind. Because I'd like the mobile phones and landline contracts looking at. I'd like to query the subscriptions. We've got 5k in subscriptions. Is there a benefits report and a usage report on what we subscribe to? And then when we look at the Church Street property, we're making a 54k a year loss on that. Has there ever been a review on that, on the use of that property and the 54k loss?
That's this property.
What's the?
Oh, is that this?
This is
Yeah.
it.
Not,
Is it?
not the crypt.
No.
No, it's not.
That.
This is it. Yeah.
Oh, right, okay, we'll ignore that one then. Okay, so if,
No, there isn't a formal benefit and usage report on the subscription, but each year we produce a report which lists the subscriptions which we are proposing to enter into for the following financial year, and that's approved by, I believe, full council.
So it's like now, east, south.
yeah, so can we, when we get that
Silver.
list, before it goes through next time, can we get a usage report to make sure that the subscriptions are valid and used, not just renewed for the sake of being renewed?
Okay, we can't get one that's automated. I'm not sure how we would create a manual one, but we can have a look at how much is used. But what we try to do in that list is explain the reason why we need each one. And obviously each one of them is open to challenge by councillors. If councillors believe we don't need it or don't use it, I'm not sure I could provide you with a usage list. I mean, like those of us that have access to Now will drop in and out of it
Yeah.
as and when we need
No,
to.
that's
I
fair
don't
enough.
believe
If
that
we
Now
get-
would capture when you drop in and out.
If staff are saying they use something, then I think that's all we need to know. We don't need that evidence based, but I just wondered if there was just an automatic renewal going on without any
No.
thought process.
Not at all.
Not at all.
We,
All right, thank you.
we try and make sure that we spend money as if it's our own, and we don't spend money on things that's wasteful. And if there were any of those subscriptions that we weren't using, we would be the ones coming to councillors to say we don't need this anymore.
Okay, Councillor Harrell.
I believe there is an agenda item that comes to this committee on the subscriptions on an annual basis. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Full council.
Oh yeah, 'cause we have.
Full
I
council's
definitely remember looking at subscriptions in a meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, Councillor Dunn.
Yeah, one of the things, I've always felt that our subscription base is quite heavy on the finances, but with all the new legislation that comes through, if we're not signed up to some of these subscriptions, then we don't get the correct legislation like that's come through recently in relation to some of the policies that we may be approving this evening because of the change in the law, and we have to abide, as the town council, we all know. required under the legislation. So I do agree that sometimes I think it can actually be heavy, but some of it we do need, definitely.
And if I can just, through the chair, if I can just add to that, I think sometimes there's a false economy to be had by getting rid of a professional subscription, such as HR advice or whatever, because it would mean if we didn't have that, we might have to refer to a professional solicitor for the same advice, which would be substantially more expensive. So, we look at each one on a sort of cost ratio basis to see whether or not it's worthwhile. But if there were any that weren't being used or we felt didn't need to be there anymore, I think we would be the ones proposing to councillors that we should drop them.
That's lovely, thank you. Councillor Barman.
Thank you. I'll just reiterate that we have over the years in council meetings challenged and got rid of certain ones and found more cost effective ones that actually get used. So that is challenged and looked at every year. So, but one thing I'd like to bring up is grants. Obviously we have a grants budget. We have for the last 2 years had an extra amount left in, which is now in earmarked reserves for our grants, and actually it's over £8,500. So we could reduce this year's budget by reducing our grants budget by that amount, so we have the same amount in the grants by using those earmarked reserves, because that's just over £8,500. And I can see Lucy put her hand up.
Sorry, through you, Chair. That budget amount takes into consideration the use of the earmark reserve.
Okay.
Yeah, because otherwise, in the past, it's been up to about 35, I think. So 40
So that's all. So,
yeah, so
that's already reflected in the earmark reserve.
Yes.
Okay, no, that's fine.
Good thinking, though. Any further questions?
I think the other thing I'd say is that it's important to note the election cost and the increase that's happened, because the cost of the by-election caused by the departure of a previous councillor was far more expensive than we anticipated. And to build up a sinking fund, if you like, to pay for the elections in 27, we need to add in a lot more than we thought we were going to. And I think that's noteworthy.
Okay, so if we can move to recommend this FGP budget 26-27 to full council. Can I have a proposer, please? Councillor Borman, seconder, Councillor Matthews. All those in favour? Thank you. Item 9 is the full council draft budget for consideration and recommendation to full council, and we are to consider and comment and propose it goes to full council. So
I'll update on this further today.
yeah, Carol, would you like to update the committee on this?
So I think I've given in the report, I've proposed 3 options. And what I thought I'd do is give you an update on those options, because of the work that's been done on the grounds maintenance contract. Is we've got an increased budget based on the information provided by the Lewis District Council on the cost of the grounds maintenance contract, or the expected cost of it. That's not coming quite as expensive as we first thought. So the numbers for options 1, 2 and 3 are lower now than previously proposed. So is it easier? I can give you the information.
And,
yeah, you go. That's a few currently.
3 we need 102,
There we go. So a slightly shortened version of what was provided previously, just to get the summary information in there. So option 1, draft budget inclusive of the strategic plan projects, was previously 19.2%, and that's now down to 15.5% increase. Option 2 was the draft budget taking away all strategic programme projects. That was previously
8.3.
8.3, yeah, and it's now down to 4.6. And then option 3, which was previously 6%, has now gone down to 2.2% increase. So,
That's made a big difference, hasn't it?
yeah. So at the time, obviously, I wasn't able to provide that information based on
Thank you.
what we've done.
Councillor Matthews.
Sorry.
Councillor Matthews.
Yeah, quick question. Are we awaiting any more, I don't know, budgets, proposals that may reduce these costs further?
This is it. The only thing that's coming to full council is the assets software. Potentially add 5,000 to it, but yeah, that's the only addition.
But that falls in the software budget.
It falls in the software
Yeah.
budget.
That's not going to change. So yeah, as far as we know, I mean obviously something might change that we don't know about, but
Yeah.
as far as we know, this is the end.
That's all. Yeah, it's all I can ask, is there something else? Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Hurrell.
Sorry, I'm probably just being slow, but can you just explain the amended figures and why they've changed again? So I can process.
It's the grounds maintenance contract. So at the time of writing the budget figures, we didn't have the grounds maintenance contract confirmed as in what the provisional numbers would look like. So we budgeted for an estimate, which is a 38% increase on where it was currently, based on the information provided by Lewes District Council. So the team who are assigned to look after the grounds maintenance review have worked through that, have got their approved contractors for that will be brought to full council. And it's those numbers we've now applied into this budget that's got the reduction.
Okay, cool. With you now. Thank you.
Councillor Barman and then Councillor Dunn.
Thank you. So obviously option 3 is using SIL funds, general reserve funds. It does state that general reserve funds, if we use them, will still be above what we should have in general reserve. Can I ask about the SIL? Because obviously we have deadlines that we need to use that for. How much then, if we use this SIL money, have we got left?
So you've got this.
And are you just trying to use some of the SIL money because there's a deadline on that use of the money?
So in civil terms, there's 157,000, or just over 157,000 pounds worth of SIL money, and there's an October 27 deadline to use it. So
Is that on all of it or just?
No, on the 157,000. There's additional money that's set aside that has a later expiry date, but that one's got the October 27 expiry date.
But so with just using the amount in SIL, we've still got quite a proportionate amount used that we could use for future.
Yeah, it's detailed in 4.6. It's on page 51. It talks of the fact that out of the 157,000, we'd still be left with 54,795 of the money that would run out of date in October 27, and that the SIL EMR would still sit at 191k.
Thank you.
Councillor Dunn.
Yes, thank you, Chair. With option 3, picking up, it's still and general reserves, if we as a committee dropped off anything of general reserves, how much more down would the budget go? If we only did those programme projects that only had SIL, we didn't do the ones that had the general reserves next to them.
Bear with me.
Didn't do them or used the precept to do them?
No, just didn't do them.
Talking about not doing them.
Take them out altogether, but only do the ones that we can use SIL money for.
Well, that wouldn't make any difference to the precept, would it? Because they were coming out of general reserves. That would just mean the general reserves would end up higher, but the precept would be the same.
Right, okay. Yeah. I just was trying to...
I thought you meant if we funded the ones that are earmarked for general reserves out of the precept, but left the ones that are earmarked as the SIL paid for by SIL.
Yes.
As in that would increase the precept because the precept would be paying for the
we've been
ones that
paying
are
for
currently
the-
earmarked for grant.
No, I'm just, when it says general reserves, I'm always worried about we take money from general reserves, because that's our sort of... And we have to have a specific amount, always at the 50%. If we did these projects and used general reserves, would we stay at the right amount? Because we have to be 3 times our, if I'm correct, doesn't it have to be 3 times our income?
No.
No?
The internal auditor has advised us previously that we're at the top end of what we should have for general reserves,
Okay,
and that we're supposed to have at least 50% of our precept level,
yes.
which is what, £500,000? So we're already 3 times the level of what is the minimum we have to have.
So even if we use the general reserves, we wouldn't drop below that 50%?
No, that's
We
detailed
would
in
be
4.6, where it would talk about the fact that the general reserve would remain at £1.632 million.
Okay. Right.
And there's only, you'll notice only a few of these projects are earmarked to come out of general reserves, because most of them are coming out of SIL.
Yeah, yeah. See.
But there are some projects that SIL can't pay for, and those are the ones that are there as general reserve.
Yes, yeah, because SIL's obviously got very specific spending. Yeah. Okay, thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Can I ask you please about the Golf Course water recycling washdown system? In the budget, there's 25 grand down for water, and this is costing 25 grand. So what will the future savings be on a 25 grand investment, please?
So, yeah, go on. So Lucy, I'll leave answer that part, and I'll answer the other
I was
part.
just going to say, when you said about the water being 25,000, the budget's not just water, it's all the utilities. So it doesn't just cover the water.
So that number in GOSCA, that is 25,950,
So what page is this for the other councils?
page 60. What element of that is the water? Because what I'm trying to establish is that if we're paying £25,000 for a water improvement system to save on water, we need to know what the water saving is.
Yeah, it's not on. So Simon would be the better one. I don't have the specific details of the saving. I was trying to look for where this is, so we can come back to you with that. But the whole idea is to then become self-sufficient. So it will use, all the water that's used will go down and drain down and be reused. So I don't specifically know how much that will save because I don't have that information, but we can see if we can find out.
So you're asking me to approve a £25,000 spend without knowing what the investment, what the return is. That's the thing I'm struggling with at the minute.
No, that's fair enough. I think the only other thing I'll point out is the environmental element of it. It was one of the reasons for it being there.
Well, I know that's what GOSCA has, that's why GOSCA have approved it, but I'm not coming at it from an environmental point of view. I look at it purely as a cost to the council, and it's a cost to taxpayers. And we need to make sure that we're getting value for money.
Okay, we'll come
Sorry,
back.
through you, Chair, maybe you need to then speak to the Chair of GOSCA to find their committee's reason, because obviously this is their committees, and then we can look at it at full council.
It's a good idea. I have asked the Chair and not got that information, so if Simon can come back to me on that, please.
Sorry, Jeff, Simon and Peter will provide a response to the information.
Thank you.
Just to add to that, I do remember Simon describing it, and I think it was very much about recycling the water and becoming self-sufficient.
Yeah, it's entirely self-sufficient.
Yeah, and that is not the element that I'm concerned about.
But he has talked about it. It has been discussed in some detail at Oscar.
Yeah, I want to know what the value is in pounds.
Okay.
The other thing I wanted to look at is vehicle leases. I think I've mentioned this to you before. Is anybody looking at vehicle leases? It's £91,000 a year, and we have no idea how long those contracts are for, or if anyone is reviewing those contracts. Have you got an update on that for us, please?
I don't have one to hand, but I can provide you with that. It's a 5-year machinery plan. There's about 4, I think there's 4 running at the same time. But there is a plan, 5-year plan for each of them.
And that comes through GOSCA.
It does,
so they get the breakdown of kind of for the next however many years kind of projected costs.
Okay, so that's been reviewed.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure of that. Dog bin emptying's gone up quite a lot, it's almost doubled. I mean, it's only a
What's
small
that, sorry?
amount, dog bin emptying.
For the sake of, Chair, for the sake of the budget, we were going through a process of gaining the prices for the whole of the dog bins. So what we've done is we've allocated the cost split down across all of it at exactly the same level. So it's not specific to each cost centre. It's the average cost. And it's just broken down for account. So that's why we just tried to get it in there so it was correct at the time of the budget. It needs to be recoded correctly to each of the right areas.
Okay, and my final question is about the nature reserve expenses at £23,000. Has anybody got any information on that for me, please?
Sorry, what page and cost centre are you on?
Page 61, cost centre 4500, 23,000. It just says nature reserve expenses.
Well, that's the Sussex Wildlife Trust fees, the management fees, annual fees.
Nature reserve expenses.
Yeah.
I do have another question, sorry.
Okay.
So you've put 3.8% increase on the proposed hire charges,
Yeah.
but given that we've significantly undercharged year upon year, is a 3.8% increase realistic?
I think from my personal point of view, from seeing it, knowing how we've operated previously, I wanted to put in a start position that is reflective of CPI, and that was it. I haven't done anything retrospectively to bridge that gap, and I didn't know at the time how people would accept that if we increased it any further. So it's just providing a consistent method of CPI over a 12-month period at the start of the budget, and then provides us with a benchmark every year. But you're right, it could be expensive. Everybody has the appetite to see those increases go further.
Can I, just through the chair, can I make 2 points on that? I think firstly we've matched what the Lewes District Council increase has been on pitch hires. So it has increased year by year. I think the issue has been the non-collection of the amount we should have received rather than the amount of the fee.
Thank you.
And the second point I'd make is that the payers of those fees are, in the main, not-for-profit sports clubs, community groups, who are in existence for the benefit of people in the town. And I think we need to be careful that we don't try and use those people as, you know, a way of increasing fees higher than we're increasing fees across the rest of the board. And I think that's why 3.8%, which we've used on most of our other increases, seems like a reasonable and fair and proportionate increase to make.
No, that's a good answer. Thank you very much for that. Any other questions, please? Councillor Horror.
More of a point, to be honest. One is that it's a bit of a shame that part of the reason we're having to increase the precept stall is because the national insurance contributions for our staff is still applying to town and parish councils. And does just show you how much of a self-tax that has been for ordinary people, because the costs are getting passed on to ordinary people. And reading the report as a whole, I think I would instinctively want to go with using the earmarked reserves rather than increasing the precept, because we did increase the precept by quite a bit last year, and this seems like a more prudent thing for our residents as a whole. But my one small question, well actually not that small, but are we expecting costs to come our way as a result of local government reorganisation, with any assets coming to us, or are there risk factors financially that we need to be ready for, so perhaps our earmarked reserves do need to be a bit higher?
I think through the chair I'd answer that in a way that it's difficult to know for certain, and it's difficult to know whether that's going to be in the next year. Through conversations I've had with the district council, they are going to take quite a robust approach in terms of a due diligence process when they agree, if they agree to a local control transfer for assets. They're not just going to let us have whatever we want. they are going to go through quite a robust due diligence process to ensure we can afford it, and it's not going to be impactful on the precept to too much of an extent, and that we've got the skills and the capacity and so on. So I think Lewis have looked at it from that point of view. I think the other thing is that, you know, we don't yet know, A, when that's going to happen, and B, if we do get any assets, whether they're going to come to us when they're agreed or on the 31st of March 2028. And so it's so unknown, it's really difficult to answer that question in anything other than what I've said.
So we'll probably have it next year in the report. Most likely. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, so we've been given 3 options. Is there a way to look at option 3 and get this down to 0% so our residents are paying nothing this year by increasing because we've got lots in general reserve. Can we increase the general reserve contribution and reduce that to 0? What are your thoughts on that, please?
I mean, I think best practice advice is that we don't have a 0% increase on the precept, because it's indicative of a stagnating organisation. You know, all of our fees are going up by 3.8%. If we have 0 as a precept, we're basically shrinking the town council.
Well, other councils are doing 0.
Who?
Wealdon.
That's a district council. It's a bit different.
They're just trying to spend their money before it goes unitary.
Councillor Harrell.
I would support the 2.2 as it is, because I mean that's below inflation as well, so it's essentially a real term decrease anyhow, because inflation's over 3%.
It's less than a cup of coffee.
Yeah,
It's £2.87. It's less than a cup of coffee.
It's £5 a week. That's what it equates to, 5p a week.
Councillor well.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry. I just want to congratulate the finance team for giving us 3 options and the amount of detail that's actually behind that, because clearly there's been an enormous amount of discussion and out of the box thinking on how we get to this point where we have options in front of us with good explanations, but also, as has rightly said, that the increase in the new amended following the ground maintenance contract to 2.2% is amazing, given that it is below the interest rate. So, I mean, I would agree with Councillor Hurrell and say that I would probably support that.
Shall we? Councillor Dunn.
Yeah, just to say, as much as I support you, Chair, we don't want to give anything on to the residents. They're struggling as it is with everything else, especially like you said about the increase in staff with their national insurance that's come down onto the small man on the street. But I've always, whenever I've been a councillor in the past, I've always gone with sort of like just above or below the rate of inflation, so that we're not completely 0. So I think I'd have to support along with option 3, if anything. Thank you.
So shall we vote to the proposal, if we can amend the recommendation to recommend option 3? Is that what we're doing here? Because it doesn't say that on the...
Recommend our proposals.
I think the proposed motion is to recommend the draft option 3 full council budget 2026-2027 full council.
Okay. So we need to vote on the amendment to this proposal. Can I have a proposal, please? Councillor Manco, second to Councillor Matthews. All those in favour? And can we now vote on the actual proposal, which is to recommend the draft budget to full council, along with option 3, the precept at 2.2%. Proposer, Councillor Hurrell, seconded Councillor Bowman. All those in favour? It's passed. you.
I should see you get to.
Stop bobbing.
Awesome.
That's a hard one.
Report number 10. This is to consider the Seaford Health Golf Course membership terms and conditions, and we are recommended to note the membership terms and conditions being introduced. Darryl, have you got any further update for the committee, please?
Thank you, Chair. Other than to say, I think when it was discussed previously, the priority was to ensure that anyone who joined was culpable for the entire payment of their membership term, and that's what we've tried to achieve in the membership terms and conditions, as well as adding some additional parts here to kind of talk about behaviour and everything else. So I think hopefully that achieves what the goal that it was set out, and if so, what the plan is to brand them for Seaford Golf Course and tidy them up, because they're in there in just a draft format, and then we can issue those almost immediately.
Thank you. Any
If I can
questions?
just add through the chair.
Yes, please.
So for those councillors that don't understand why this isn't going to GOSCA, it's because it started out life as a debt collection problem, in that a golf member had joined and then left and believed that he didn't need to pay the rest of his annual membership. And so the idea was to come up with a membership terms and conditions which makes clear that you're still liable. That's why it comes to F&GP, not to GOSCA.
Because it's a
Any questions? Councillor Gorman.
No questions, I'd just like to say thank you, because obviously, yes, that's why it got brought up, and I'd like to say thank you for bringing it back here and listening to us, so hopefully we won't have these problems going forward. So, thank you.
Any other questions? We're going to, we're recommending that we accept these terms and conditions. Can I have a proposal, please? Councillor Gorman, second, Councillor Dunn. All those in favour? It's passed. Thank you. Item 11 is George's report on the concessions tendering process. George, is there anything else you want to add?
I don't think anything else to add, I guess just by way of a very, very brief introduction. Just to say, obviously, the committee is now carrying out this review ahead of us launching 2 tender processes in January, the new contracts to start in April for the Marine Parade and Westview Beach Hut concession sites. The work that's been done really is building on the work that was done last year when the concessions policy and process was revised, so it's just kind of a continual enhancement of what's been done already, and it's also paving the way for the concessions working group, the newly established working group that's going to work over the next 9-10 months to be looking at the policy and some of the more strategic elements of the Town Council's concessions. But what this report's tried to do is just really kind of lay the foundations for the concessions work, to explain the legislation, talk through our lessons learned from previous processes, look at the process we're going to use for next year's scheme, look at changes to the policy which committee's asked to consider, and also we presented a revised tender pattern application form, because that's kind of the key focal point of the process. So at the moment we're just asking committee for any comments on any of the above, and also to recommend the revised concessions policy to full council at that 8th of January meeting, because we'll then have the revised policy ready to launch the new tender process in January.
One of the things that we talked about was that it wasn't just going to be an automatic launch of a tender, that you would come to council and that you would ask councillors, do we want that there? Do we want to carry on with that there? And
That's what the concessions working group is all about, which is going to report back at the end of 26.
so, but there's an opportunity to put that in now, isn't there, for the January ones? No. Okay, so that's going to be.
So I think it's important to say that we're hopeful that the committee will recommend this for full council on the 8th of January.
Yeah.
If there are significant changes, it can't make that deadline because the papers need to go out tomorrow. So if there are significant changes, then this won't be able to be issued for the 8th of January.
Okay, that's fine. Councillor Martwell. I just want to also thank you very much to the officers that have taken on quite a lot of the discussions that I know were held last year. And also it's good to see that the asterisks on 3.4, 3.5 picking up the council's new strategic programme. It's really important that the alignment between what we need again from our concessions and how that aligns with our strategy, our new updated strategy is within this, and that is a really significant step and development in just developing that whole framework. So I would imagine that after the working group, so this time next year, this is really tightened up completely, and we are much more in streamlining how we're making these decisions, and it's aligning, you know, the kind of core of in our core values from the strategic plan, which I think we did struggle with before in terms of discussion. So thank you for that.
Through the chair, I think that, you know, the concessions working group have basically got most of the year of 26 to work out the new strategic programme for how we're going to run concessions. And if, for example, they wanted it to be that each time a new concession's run, that goes to A&F committee or it comes to F&G committee, then that's going to be some of the output from that working group.
Yeah.
But before they get there, we need to run a concessions process in January 2026 for the 2 concessions that are going to run out of date on the 31st of March 26. Town Clerk doesn't have delegated authority to extend those 2 concessions. So if we don't start the concessions in January, come the 31st of March, those 2 venues are going to be empty.
Thank you. Councillor John.
Yeah, page 81, 4.6. I'm actually part of the concessions working group. I was just wondering, because it's me, the chair, Councillor Jabaz, is anybody else joining us? Because Steve, you put out an SOS, didn't you, by email? Has anybody else come forward?
I can't recall, to be honest, but I'll let you know.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you very much.
I don't think we've got 5 members yet.
No.
But I can't recall if anyone has not volunteered to
That's
join.
fine. Okay.
3 would be good.
Any other comments, please? Okay, so we are recommending to note the contents of the concessions tender programme and recommend it to full council. Can we have a proposer, please? Councillor Bowman, seconder. Councillor Markwell, all those in favour? That's carried, thank you. Report number 13 is the policy review of the IT and data policies. No. 12 minutes. Sorry.
Is that
128.
Somebody pages.
It's page
28.
page 128.
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
Turn over to the middle pages. Sorry about that. Okay, policy review update from Darryl.
Okay, so it's quite.
Have you got it? We are minded to note the contents of the report. Darryl's provided a comprehensive list. Do you want to add anything further, Darryl?
I don't think so, other than to say we did work through the risks elements of the policies and we brought forward all the policies that we felt initially on high profile ones are the ones we need to work on. And inevitably, when we change one policy, there's a linked policy, which means we have to alter those as well. So that's why they're coming forward as in place.
Well,
Thank you, Chair. I just want to congratulate the team, Deputy Chair, Deputy Town Clerk, on all this work on the policies, which has hidden, I think we might be in your 3rd month of employment now. It's quite astounding. Even 2.5, is it?
I think I've gone through the 3 now.
Oh, you're going for 3 now?
Yeah.
But this is really impressive. It's an impressive piece of work, and it's really good to see that the links across all the policies and also the links to committees and the links to those that are responsible and the clusters. It's incredible, really, because we really haven't had this in quite so much detail previously. So it's going to be really helpful to see this go forward with review periods and next review dates and adoption dates. It's amazing. So I think it's a really exciting piece of work. It's obviously a very detailed piece of work, but it's incredibly important and really welcome. So thank you for all the hard work that's gone into that, because it's something we've been waiting for some time.
Thank you for noting that, Sally. Councillor Emma.
Yeah, just to echo that, because it also struck me that it will go into the design of the new website, in that there will be links to cross-react. And certainly in some of the quite justifiable criticism from members of the public, that they haven't been able to track things, that they found one policy that contradicts something else. And I think this is our shop front, really. This is showing that we mean business, that we're cohesive, and that things make sense, and we're tracking things, and we're not contradicting ourselves. And I think it's actually showing that we are showing a much more professional way of conducting our business, and I think that longer term will improves our reputation and improves public confidence.
Any further questions? We are recommended to note conflicts of the report. Can I have a proposal, please? Councillor Dawn, seconder. Councillor Wearmouth, all those in favour? Thank you. That's passed. Moving on to report number 13. Policy reviews, another one from Darren. We've got 4 reports here that we're recommended to approve.
There's 4 policies with 1 report, because otherwise they just repeated themselves. So.
Okay, that's great. Is there anything you want to add, Darren?
No, just the only kind of point to note is the IT and sort of cyber security policy, which is a new policy, is required as part of AGAR, the Assertion 10 again. So that was important that we had that in there. And then in updating that policy, it just linked into the other ones, so they were all kind of followed in sequence after that. So, yeah.
Does anyone have any questions? Councillor Dunn.
Yeah, can I refer to page, this is to do with, sorry, IT and cyber security, it's that particular policy, page 171 to 173. 171 section 6 about emails, and 6.15 says about accidentally sharing of contact details. Sometimes I've received an email, but it's not contained, because when it's for all of us, it can be hashtag councillors, so we all get it, but we don't see anything. We just know that we've all got an email, but we don't see any other detail. I've sometimes received emails from within the organisation, but is included outside body representative, not councillors, and it's come with all of these personal emails, which can happen because when you want to send to multiple addresses, but they're all different people from scattered all over, you can't do a hashtag like we do with councillors. Can we have, me personally, how do I stop that? If I wanted to send an email multiply, how do I prevent?
Has that happened recently from an officer?
Sorry.
With addresses on show? Okay, well that shouldn't have happened.
Sorry, I don't like to.
No, sorry.
I can speak to you privately about this, but.
Is it GDPR?
Yeah, I mean you're not supposed to share email addresses of someone else on an email address. So internally it's fine, but if
I didn't do anything. I mean, I don't do anything further. I mean, I acknowledge that was wrong.
In answer to your question, the only way of doing that is to BCC those people in, so that nobody can see each other's email addresses.
So is this like an outside body? So like strengthening local.
Yeah.
Which means then you've got people in on there from other
Well,
organisations, but they might be using their personal because their
Whatever
organisation
reason,
hasn't got a
Could
main
be community
thing.
gardens for you know.
I think that's a bit
yeah.
different.
Okay.
Yeah,
Can you let me know tomorrow offline what that is, and I'll make sure that the officer that's doing that doesn't do that, because we're not supposed to do that.
Okay.
And I didn't know that was happening.
I don't, it's such a difficult one because you're not out to sort of get anyone into trouble, but it can. I would imagine it's easily done. Yeah.
I'm not seeking
No,
to get anyone in
no,
trouble.
no.
We need to stop it.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, right, we'll do.
Councillor Wimmer.
Page 143, item 2.25, where it's recognising that councils aren't offered any devices, they have to pay for that and provide their own devices. Now, I understand that this is about cyber security, but obviously the way to do this is to provide laptops or some sort of device for councillors, which I think is long overdue. Now, when we've had these discussions before, if you take aside obviously the budgetary aspect of that, there have been discussions that people who are councillors on 2 or 3 different council levels don't want 2 or 3 devices. And it was left that there would be some sort of discussion to see if different platforms could be used on the same device so that someone wasn't carrying several laptops around to different councils. But I haven't heard any more about that for a year or more, and I just wondered if there was any ongoing discussion about that, because when you're thinking the other side of if someone is thinking about becoming a councillor, they need to know what is required of them, and if we're not offering them any sort of allowance and we're only paying their travel fees if they go outside the town and they have to provide their own IT, then, you know, it is becoming quite exclusive, really, in terms of the kind of people who are prepared to do this.
So through the chair, in answer to the question, at an earlier meeting of F&GP, it was agreed that we wouldn't pay councillors the allowance, and that we would bring it back for debate by December 2026 in readiness for the next intake of councillors to be elected in 2027. I would think that that's probably the appropriate place for us to talk about not just the allowance, but also whether or not the town council wants to fund devices for councillors, because there's a significant cost to it. And I don't know if, you know, perhaps the last year of a term is the right time to bring that in place when the same councillors aren't keen for there to be a councillor allowance. I mean, obviously, if councillors want me to bring it before then, we can. But that's when I had thought was the most appropriate time to bring it.
Sorry, through the chair, if you don't mind.
Please.
My understanding was that the two weren't connected. It was a technical issue about not having to order so many laptops if say district or county councillors could have a shared platform on a device that was already provided to them. I didn't think it was just put on the too difficult pile to talk about.
It's not so much that. I think it's more the case. I mean, there's four district councillors and 1 county councillor amongst the 20 town councillors.
Yeah.
So, you know, my priority is probably the 15 that haven't got any device. I know that some of the 4 have said that they don't want to have 2 devices. And I imagine that the one from county council probably doesn't want to have another device as well. So that's more about a discussion between us and Lewis or us and East Sussex about whether or not we could have some sort of MOU so that they could issue a device that we can access, or the other way around. I think more it's about the cost of that, and do councillors want us to spend the money on 15 to 20 laptops and all the softwares and licenses that go with it?
No.
I don't know, and that's, you know, if councillors want me to, then I can bring it. But
Resigns, and how do you get
Who
that?
hasn't got access to a computer nowadays, really? I mean, and if somebody wanted to be a councillor and they didn't have a laptop, I'm sure we could, between us, find one for somebody. Councillor Matthews.
Yeah, I was going to come. So, Councillor Wimmer's comment around trying to the budget for it. And I remembered what you were saying, Steve, around going deferred. I can't remember the month that you recorded. Just on the tablet and laptop situation, it's also we have to pay subscriptions. So, you know, if you've got a laptop at home, or you know, I've got a subscription for Microsoft coming up. It's like 85 quid or something. It's not. It is a sizable amount. And that's for the year. So,
to sign up. Yeah.
but obviously, I'll be using that. I might be using it for personal use, but also I might be using it for town council use as well. And it might be worth that we consider, contribution towards that further down the line.
And I think through the chair, I think that's a valid point, but I think the other point is the GDPR element as well, which is that when I used to work for the county council, councillors were forbidden from dealing with council business on their own laptop because they considered it to be a breach of GDPR, and it wasn't behind the firewall and the security that was provided by an East Sussex laptop, as an example. So that side of it as well. And I'm not saying that we can't bring it before then, but that's what I thought was the most appropriate place. But if councillors want us to bring it before that, we can do. But we haven't budgeted for it in 26, 27.
I don't think it's something I want to support the payment of laptops, but when you I can only speak for me. When I go on, I use the council's emails Outlook system, and all my documents are on there. They're not on my laptop. They're on the council system, and I'm using the council software. So I don't know how, if you want to take it off there, which you're not supposed to, why you would be using your own anyway. Is that right?
I'm not an expert in how secure that is and whether that's hackable or not. I don't know. I just know that other councils are quite insistent that you can only deal with council business on a council laptop.
Councillor Marple.
Thank you, Chair. I was just looking at Darryl actually and thinking, would this come under perhaps when you're doing the updating of the software internally with the website and talking to the new, whoever you have chosen to do that it may well be useful to get some insight from them as to how this is managed across all those other councils that they support, because if you were thinking of going down the purchase of technical equipment, it may be interesting to know how that's managed through other councils, because they would be supporting the software for that, so they'd know about it anyway. Also, I'm wondering about the legalities of the GDPR, etc., by us having it on our. I appreciate what you're saying, Chair, about only doing it within your.
There's nothing on the laptop. It's all in the window. It's all in the
So
login.
I think it is. It may well be, but for some people they might not understand that, so they may have saved it in other places.
Okay. So
And we don't
that's a
have that training to do
issue.
that.
Yeah, I was
Councillor Harrow.
I was going to make that same point. I think that just introducing councillors to this data policy is probably the thing that would ensure that we were the most compliant with it. Just explaining, because it is perfectly fine to be using personal devices to access the council web, but it's how you do it, your internet connection. There's various factors that come in with a bit of training. You can make sure you were fine. So that's probably where the gap is. But I do agree with Councillor Wearmouth. While I don't think it's urgent, because I think we've muddled through pretty well, I do think for the next batch of councillors, we should just have a think about what we want to do with laptops. Because, I think the discussion along with allowance is the best way to do it. So I'm quite pleased with how that discussion went and agree with what was said.
And how do you propose we have that discussion?
Well, I think as the town clerk said, I think when we discuss the allowances, if we could have a section of the report
Same time.
Yeah, I think because it's allowances, and then it's also the things you need to do to be a councillor and what's the budget that we need to put aside for those, and is there a little bit more to make us more effective councillors in the future?
That seems reasonable. Thank you. Councillor Dunn.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not confused. But when I'm at home and I don't like laptops in council meetings. I like good old-fashioned paper, me, so I can write all over it. I can't write over my laptop. for me, when I log into my councillor email, I can't really afford too much cyber security on my own laptop because it's very expensive. So my laptop doesn't really have it. Surely, if my laptop got hacked, if you want a better word, it wouldn't affect me logging into the councillor's website, would it? Would it be attacked?
I don't know. I
To
don't
be
know.
honest, I think it very much depends on what the security is around that, your passwords, all those kind of things. And one of the reasons for bringing this policy was to kind of bridge that gap and give a little bit of education around like the things you should and shouldn't be doing. Schools ICT that look after all our IT systems, I've got another meeting lined up with them because one of my concerns when I came in, one of the reasons for writing the policy was those potential risks. So, and someone who understands IT probably a little bit better than me probably needs to come up with that information to demonstrate what the risks are currently with everybody accessing devices and what happens. Because it's by your own internet connection, firewalls on your laptops, all those types of things that protect you, and without those then you become more and more at risk. So
I know you have to regularly, sorry Chair, you have to regularly change your password. You get prompts to do that.
Yeah.
There is a level of protection that's afforded to you by logging into the portal with the token and whatnot.
Yeah.
I just don't know whether that's
Secure
fireproof or whether it just makes you safer than you would be without it.
Yes, understood. Thank you, Chair. Thank you. Thank you. Darryl, thank you.
Councillor Matthews.
I just wanted to make a comment really. I thought, as a starting point of new policies, I thought this was pretty good, and obviously we'll review them in future. So.
Yeah, every policy that's new, it's got a 1 year expiry on it, so we're renew it within that 1 year period to see whether it's working for everybody. So that's the kind of idea of any of the new policies, that they have that period. Any existing policies will just go via their normal renewal dates.
Okay, my question is 7.6,
Which one?
page 175. In certain situations, the council's IT provider may require access to users' IT equipment. And I did email you about this, and I won't be handing over my IT equipment.
In fairness, I think that's probably there to support if there is a breach or something similar that they may be able to support. But actually, when you highlighted, that's probably one I think we need to amend. Because I think you're right. I don't think we can be requesting anybody's equipment. I think the only thing we can be asking for is if you need any support with that, we will be able to help.
Are you going to change it before?
I can change it ahead of the
All
council meeting. Yeah.
That's good. Thank you very much. Any other questions? Okay, so shall we take these all as one item? So we're going to note the contents of the report, recommend to full council that they adopt the data protection policy, the document retention policy, the IT and cyber policy, and the bring your own device policy. Can I have a proposal, please? Councillor Harrow, seconder. Councillor Dunn, all those in favour? That's carried, thank you. Purchase order policy, which I need at page 186, thank you. Don't do it over laptop. Thank you very much. The gavel show tonight, isn't it? Another report from Darryl.
I've done a number of these.
Yeah.
Should be sitting here, Darryl.
We're asked to consider and discuss the purchase ordering and payment for goods policy and to vote to recommend to full council the policy. And Darryl, have you got anything further to add to the report that you presented?
The only overview was this initially started because having reviewed it, it didn't match with financial regulations. There was inconsistencies in the amount of money in there. So I started the process of updating that, and then there's some practices that the finance team have that weren't up to date, and they're loosely updated her side of it from the finance team's point of view as well. So what we have now is a policy that matches our financial regs and is consistent with our own internal procedures.
Thank you. Do we have any questions, please? Councillor Bowman.
Just 2.2 mentions that the scheme of delegation that features elsewhere on this agenda.
Yes. It did.
Sorry.
It did, but it doesn't.
I pulled it off the agenda. That's my fault.
Just because obviously it's in the agenda, it just needs clarifying in the minutes, please.
Will it be added before full council?
No, scheme of delegation won't get updated.
I'm coming to the end, have I missed it?
I'll try and get it through.
Can we listen to Darryl, please?
Yeah, so scheme of delegation, the reason we pulled it, I think there were a number of other changes we needed to make to it, which we realised there were items missing off the original scheme of delegation that should be in there. And I think we needed a bit of time to present a fully updated version of the scheme of delegation, which is quite a sizable amount of work.
There's also some proposals in there in terms of the slimming down of some of the delegations, because it's a bit hit and miss. It's a policy that's sort of built gradually over time, and as things have been added, the scheme of delegations has got longer and longer. But they're a bit all over the place, and we want to try and pull it together and come forward with a more comprehensive and understandable scheme of delegation.
How is this policy affected by not having that?
Well, it still exists. The current scheme of delegation still exists. The point was we were going to bring forward as another policy scheme of delegation.
Okay. That's fine. Any other questions? Councillor Markham.
Yeah, so just to say in 2.2, are you going to remove that before it goes to the next discussion? Or explain the fact that it's not going to
Just
be...
need to remove that word updated, don't you? Put the
Yes.
old one in.
In the rush to get the documents out in time for this meeting, obviously we've missed the fact that said that and we've pulled that policy. So apologies.
But can I just say, I recommend and support a renewal of the scheme of delegation. I think that's incredibly complicated and complex. And I think councillors would really benefit from understanding the scheme of delegation better and being able to have the opportunity for that discussion to rely on you, and since the restructuring and the kind of resilience that you've built within the organisation, it kind of follows that it would make more sense to see where responsibilities lie. And our approach to that may be different from what it would have been 2 years ago.
And through the chair, I mean, that's what we were planning to do tonight, initially. But when we delved into it, we realised that there's a lot more that needs doing to the scheme of delegation.
Yeah.
And we will bring it forward when we can, but it's not ready for this meeting.
Yeah, no.
And the problem we've got is because of Christmas taking 2 weeks out of our processing, when we get back, that Friday, the papers for the 29th of January have to go out.
Yeah.
And so we won't have time to work on it before the 29th of January. But we will bring it as soon as we can to the appropriate place.
Thank you. Any other questions? Can we move to recommend that full council adopts the purchasing order payment for goods and services policy, please? Can I have a proposal? Councillor Bowman, a seconder. Councillor Markwell, all in favour? That's passed. Thank you very much. Item 14. I've done that. 15. Exclusion of the press and public. In accordance with the Public Bodies Act, press and public are to be excluded from the meeting. During the discussion on the next item of business, the resolutions of the item will be recorded publicly in the minutes of this meeting. Do not do that. I need to vote. Yep. So can I have a proposal to exclude the press and public, please? Councillor Markwell, a seconder. Councillor Wearmouth, all those in favour? That's carried unanimously.